Right now, while you sit here watching this, something is happening to the way you walk. Something quiet, something gradual, something that most people over 70 don't even notice until they're lying on a hospital floor wondering how they got there. I spent 26 years working with adults after falls, and I will tell you something that took me years to fully understand. The fall itself is never the real problem. The real problem started months, sometimes years before the fall. It started in the way a person walks every single day. And here's what nobody tells you. The single most dangerous walking pattern in adults over 65 is not caused by a disease. It's not caused by medication. It's not caused by bad luck. It is caused by something you are almost certainly doing right now without knowing it. And it is completely reversible. I need you to stay with me for the next 30 minutes. Because by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly what is happening in your walk today, why it is quietly setting you up for a fall you cannot afford, and the one specific change, along with 5 targeted exercises that can begin protecting you starting with your very next step. No equipment, no gym membership, no expensive gadgets, just knowledge and the decision to use it. Before anything else, I want to ask you something. Type your age in the comments right now. Because what I am about to share affects people differently depending on where they are in this process. And I want to know who is watching. Your answer might also help the next person who needs to hear this today. Let me tell you about Sandra. She is 67 years old, retired postal worker from Virginia, spent 31 years walking mail routes, which means she probably walked more in her working life than most people walk in 2 lifetimes. After she retired, her world got smaller, more time at home, more sitting. And slowly, without her noticing, her walk changed. Her steps got shorter. Her feet stopped lifting cleanly off the ground. Her posture shifted forward slightly. She told me later that she thought she was just being careful, that she was walking slowly because she was being safe. She was wrong. One Tuesday morning, Sandra was walking from her kitchen to the living room. She wasn't rushing. She wasn't distracted. She wasn't doing anything unusual. Her left foot caught the edge of a small rug that had been in the same spot for 11 years. She went down hard, fractured her left wrist trying to catch herself, and spent the next 4 months fighting the kind of fear that lives in your body long after the bones heal. When I first talked with Sandra, she asked me the question I have heard hundreds of times. She said, "I don't understand. I was just walking. How does this happen?" And the honest answer, the answer the system rarely gives people enough time to explain, is that it started long before that rug. It started the moment her walk became a shuffle. Let me explain what that means. Think of the way a young person walks. Each step reaches forward, heel landing first, weight rolling through the foot, toes pushing off to drive the next step. It's smooth. It's rhythmic. It creates forward momentum that the body can use. Now picture something different. Imagine someone walking through shallow water, feet barely lifting, sliding forward in short, cautious steps, upper body leaning slightly forward like they're bracing for something. That is called a shuffle gait, and it develops so gradually, most people cannot see it happening in themselves. What starts as a little extra caution after a close call becomes a habit. The steps get shorter. The foot stops clearing the ground properly. The posture tips forward. And what feels safe is actually one of the most dangerous movement patterns your body can adopt after 60. Here's why this matters. Johns Hopkins University research on fall biomechanics tells us that foot clearance in walking, meaning how high your foot actually lifts off the ground with each step, drops significantly in adults who have developed shuffling patterns. That is the difference between your foot clearing the ground by 3/4 of an inch versus clearing it by less than 1/4 inch. That is the margin between a close call and a catastrophic fall. And here is the piece that most people miss completely. Shuffle gait is not just a symptom. It is a cycle. Every week you shuffle, the muscles that produce a proper lifting stride get weaker because they are not being asked to work. And the weaker they get, the more you shuffle. And the more you shuffle, the weaker they get. The cycle feeds itself quietly for months until a rug catches a foot that has no clearance left. Now, here is what most people are never told. This cycle is reversible. And it starts with understanding one thing: the heel strike. When your body walks the way it was designed to walk, each step begins with the heel making contact with the ground first. That's called a heel strike. And it triggers a chain reaction that your body depends on. The heel lands. The weight rolls forward through the arch, across the ball of the foot, and the toes push off behind you to launch the next step. That rolling motion is not just about efficiency. It is about stability. It pulls your posture upright. It creates a natural forward momentum that gives you time and space to react if something goes wrong on the surface ahead of you. But here is what happens over time. As the years pass, as activity slows, as confidence and balance quietly erodes, that heel strike quietly disappears. The foot starts landing flat, or even toe first. The rolling motion stops, the posture tips forward, and the muscles that should be driving each step, the hip flexors, the glutes, the core, stop being asked to do their job, so they weaken. And the walk that was once natural and safe becomes a shuffle that is anything but. Now I am going to show you how to reverse this, starting with exercise 1. Exercise 1. The conscious heel strike walk. Before anything else, I need you to practice the heel strike itself. Slowly, deliberately, with full awareness. If you have been shuffling for months or years, the neural pathway that produces a proper heel strike has faded. Think of it like a path through tall grass that nobody has walked in a long time. The path is still there, but you have to walk it again, deliberately, before it comes back. Here is how you do this. Find a clear hallway or a long open space. If you need it, place one hand lightly on the wall for support. Stand at one end and begin walking. But this time, think about nothing except your heel. With every single step, reach that heel slightly forward, just a few inches more than you normally would. Let it make contact with the ground first. Feel the contact. Feel your weight roll forward through your foot. Feel your toes push off behind you. 10 steps forward. Turn carefully using small marching steps. 10 steps back. That is 1 set. Do 3 sets. Rest 30 seconds between sets. What I need you to understand about this exercise is that speed is the enemy. Go slow. The slower you walk, the more conscious control you have over each step, and the more powerful the message you are sending to your nervous system. You are not just walking. You are reteaching your brain a movement pattern it has forgotten. That takes patience, but it works. I have watched it work in people who were convinced they were too far gone to change. Sandra started with this exercise in her hallway. She told me later it felt strange, like walking for the first time. And that was exactly right, because in a sense, she was. Exercise 2, the high knee march. Now, here is what nobody explains about shuffle gait and why it is so dangerous, specifically in adults over 65. When you shuffle, the muscles responsible for lifting your leg with each step, your hip flexors, stop being challenged, and muscles that are not challenged shrink. Not metaphorically, literally. Research published in the Journal of Gerontology found that inactive hip flexors in adults over 70 can lose up to 37% of their functional strength within 18 months. 37%. Let that number settle, because those are the exact muscles that determine how high your foot clears the ground with every step. When they are weak, your clearance drops. And every rug, every threshold, every uneven crack in the sidewalk becomes a tripwire waiting for you. The high knee march targets exactly those muscles. Here is how you do it. Stand behind a sturdy chair with both hands resting lightly on the back for support. March in place. Lift your right knee toward your chest as high as you comfortably can. Lower it with control. Then lift the left knee. That is 1 full repetition. 15 repetitions each side. 30 total lifts. Slow and deliberate. If it feels easy, you are not going high enough. Stand tall throughout. Do not lean your upper body backward as your knee rises. The lifting work should come entirely from your hip, and control the descent just as carefully as the lift. Here is the part most people skip and shouldn't. The lowering phase is equally important. The eccentric strength you build by controlling the descent is what protects your foot when it returns to the ground in real walking. That's the moment of maximum fall risk. That's what you're training. Once this becomes comfortable, try the march while moving slowly through your hallway. Lift each knee. Then place your heel down first as you step. You just combined exercises 1 and 2, and you are now doing something very close to a proper walking stride in training form. But wait, there is more to this. Because here is what I have seen happen over and over again in my work. People fix their walking mechanics. They do the exercises, and then they step over a threshold they've stepped over 1,000 times before, and they still fall. Why? because their brain has not been trained to see obstacles the way it used to. This is exercise 5, and I'm going to tell you about it now so you don't make that mistake. But first, let me give you the exercises in the middle, because they build the foundation you'll need. Exercise 3, the stride length walk. Shuffle gait does something insidious to your stride length. In adults who shuffle, stride length often drops to less than half of what it was in their 40s. Half. And a short stride is an unstable stride. It reduces your forward momentum. It disrupts your natural balance rhythm, and it forces your center of gravity into an awkward forward-pitched position that makes recovery from a stumble nearly impossible. Here is a simple way to train your stride back. Place 2 pieces of tape on the floor of your hallway about 18 inches apart. Stand at one end. Take a step forward and aim to land your heel at or just beyond the second piece of tape. Then step with your other foot to the same distance. Walk the length of the hallway this way. 10 full strides. Turn carefully and return. Complete 2 full lengths. Do not lunge or overreach. The goal is comfortable, natural extension, not a dramatic stretch. If 18 inches feels too far, start with 12. The distance matters less than the habit of reaching that heel forward with intention on every step. Progress tip. Over time, move the tape markers slightly further apart, half an inch at a time. Most people are genuinely surprised by how quickly their natural stride length begins to return once they start training it consciously. The body remembers. It just needs to be reminded. And here's what happened with Sandra. About 11 days into these exercises, her daughter called her on a Wednesday evening, and Sandra said something her daughter had not heard in over a year. She said, "I walked to the mailbox today and I didn't think about falling once. Not once. I just walked." Her daughter told me that later, and I have to be honest. That is one of those moments that reminds me why this work matters. But here is the crucial question. What happens when your stride gets longer and your heels start landing, but the surfaces you walk on are unpredictable? What happens when there's a threshold, a pet toy, a cord, a wet spot? That's where exercise 4 comes in. Exercise 4, the slow motion walk. I know what you're thinking. Slow motion walking sounds like something that wouldn't challenge you, but stay with me for 60 seconds, because this might be the most powerful neurological training tool available for relearning safe movement. Here is what is actually happening when you shuffle. Your brain is relying entirely on habit and momentum. It is not consciously controlling each step. It is running an autopilot program that was written years ago and has not been updated. The slow motion walk removes autopilot entirely. It forces every single muscle involved in walking to work independently and with full conscious control. Here is how you do it. Begin walking at the slowest pace you can physically manage. So slow that each step takes a full 3 to 4 seconds to complete. Lift your foot. Pause briefly in the air, reach the heel forward, lower it to the floor, feel the weight shift, push off with the toes, begin the next step. Walk the full length of your hallway, turn carefully, return. That is 1 set, 2 sets total. This will feel uncomfortable. It will feel difficult. Your balance system will wobble in ways you do not expect. And that is entirely the point. Every wobble is your nervous system being trained. Every small correction your ankle makes is your body rebuilding its responsiveness. The discomfort confirms it is working. Once you feel steady, try closing your eyes for 2 or 3 slow motion steps near the wall. This single variation dramatically accelerates the neurological adaptation you are building, and it begins preparing your body for what real life actually requires, which is responding to the unexpected without thinking about it. Now, exercise 5. The obstacle step over. This is the one I mentioned earlier. And this is where people who skip ahead make a mistake that costs them. Because by this point in the protocol, you have rebuilt your heel strike, you have strengthened your hip flexors, you have extended your stride length, and you have retrained your nervous system through slow motion work. But your brain has still not practiced the specific sequence it needs to execute in a fraction of a second when something appears on the floor in front of you. Detect the obstacle. Lift the foot early. Clear it with room to spare. Land safely on the other side. That sequence takes training. Here is how to train it. Place a pool, noodle, or a rolled towel on the floor of your hallway. It should be about 4 to 6 inches high. Stand a few feet back with a wall or chair within reach for support. Walk toward the obstacle at a normal, controlled pace. When you reach it, lift your right foot deliberately, high enough to clear it with room to spare, and step over. Then lift your left foot and clear completely. Continue walking a few steps beyond. Turn carefully. Return. 5 passes in each direction. 10 total crossings. What I need you to focus on is this. Do not rush as you approach the obstacle. Slow down slightly as you get close. Pick your foot up early, well before you reach the object. Make a confident, deliberate step. The goal is to train your brain to recognize an obstacle, respond in advance, and execute the clearance with calm control. Not panic, not last-second reaction, advanced preparation. Once this feels easy, vary the height. Carry something light in one hand as you cross. That is how real-life trips actually happen. Someone is carrying something, a cup of coffee, a phone, a bag of groceries, and their full attention is not on the floor. This exercise trains for that reality. Now, before I give you the full week-by-week plan, I need to be completely honest with you about something. And I need you to hear this clearly. If you have recently had a hip or knee replacement, if you are being treated for any heel or foot condition, if your doctor has told you to avoid weight-bearing exercise, please speak with your physician or physical therapist before beginning any of these movements. Some of what I have shown you may need to be modified for your specific situation. That is not a legal disclaimer thrown in at the end. That is genuine advice from someone who has spent years watching people try to do too much, too fast, and set themselves back. Always practice near a wall or sturdy chair. Never rush. Wear non-slip footwear or bare feet on a safe surface. If you feel sharp pain, dizziness, or anything that does not feel right, stop. There is no exercise in this protocol worth a second fall. You are the expert on your own body. Trust what it tells you. Now, here is what the next 4 weeks actually look like, because here is something I have learned over 26 years of this work. The people who succeed are not the ones who do the most. They are the ones who do enough, consistently, without quitting when it gets hard in week 1. Week 1, I will not pretend it is comfortable. Your hip flexors are going to remind you that they exist. Your balance will feel less steady than you expect during the slow motion walk. You may feel more tired than usual after these sessions. This is normal. This is your body working. Specifically, your nervous system rewiring pathways that have been dormant. Push through week 1. The discomfort in week 1 is the price of week 3. Week 2. Things start to stabilize. The heel strike walk begins to feel less deliberate and more natural. Your hip flexors stop screaming quite so loudly. Your stride length starts to feel less forced. Some people notice in week 2 that they are naturally lifting their feet higher without consciously thinking about it. That is the nervous system generalizing the new pattern. That is exactly what you want to see. Week 3. This is the week most of my patients call or message and say something changed. Not dramatically, not overnight, but clearly. The walk feels different, more grounded, more confident. Steps feel more purposeful. A number of people report that they began navigating their home without the constant background awareness of where their feet were relative to the floor. If you make it to week 3, you will understand what I mean. And here is what makes week 3 so important. The changes you feel in week 3 are the foundation of the changes you will maintain in month 3, and month 6, and year 2. Because this is not a temporary fix. This is rebuilding a movement pattern. And movement patterns, once rebuilt properly, are durable. Week 4 and beyond. This is when the real numbers start shifting. Research from the Cleveland Clinic on Gait Rehabilitation in adults over 65 showed that participants who maintained consistent gait retraining exercises for 4 weeks or more reduced their measured fall risk by 43% compared to baseline. 43%. Not by buying new shoes. Not by installing more handrails, not by avoiding stairs, by retraining the walk itself. And Sandra. 3 months after she started these exercises, her daughter sent me a voice message, and she said, "Dad asked Sandra to go on a short hike last weekend, and she went. She came home tired and happy and didn't fall once. And she told us later that for the first time in 2 years, she forgot to be afraid of falling. She just walked." That is what this protocol is about. Not getting through your hallway without incident. Getting back to the point where your body moves through the world the way it was built to move, with confidence, with clearance, with heels striking the ground first and the toes pushing off behind you, the way it was always supposed to be. Now, Sandra went through these exact exercises, and I want to tell you what week 1 actually looked like for her, because this is the part most videos skip. And skipping it is why most people quit. Day 1. She did the conscious heel strike walk and told me she felt ridiculous, like she was pretending to be a soldier. Her hip flexors were sore after the high knee march. She almost stopped. She messaged me that evening and said, "This feels too hard for someone my age." And I told her something I want you to hear right now. The difficulty is the proof it is working. Your hip flexors are not sore because you are too old. They are sore because they have not been asked to do this in a long time. That soreness is the beginning of change. Day 4. She messaged again. Shorter message this time. Said, "I walked to my neighbor's house today. Did not think about my feet the whole way there. Just walked." That is not a small thing. That is everything. Day 9. Her daughter noticed. Said her mother was walking differently, taller, not shuffling. Her daughter did not know we had been working on any of this. She just noticed because it was visible. And visible change in 9 days is not slow. It is exactly how fast the body responds when you give it the right signal. I am telling you this because I want you to stay with the program through week 1. Not because week 1 is easy, because it is not, but because week 3 is waiting on the other side of week 1. And week 3 is where people start to feel like themselves again. Most people stop watching right here. They've heard the exercises. They feel good about the plan, and they never actually do it. Do not be that person. Because here is what happens if you don't. The shuffle gets worse. The clearance drops lower. The muscles weaken further. And the fall happens on a morning that starts like any other morning, in a kitchen that is perfectly safe, over a threshold you have crossed 1,000 times. I have seen it. I have seen it more times than I should have. And I know that you are watching this because you do not want that to be your story. So let me ask you something. Is 15 minutes a day, 5 exercises, too much to ask in exchange for staying in your own home on your own terms? Because that is what this is actually about. Not balance, not mobility, independence. The ability to walk to your own mailbox without fear, to move through your own kitchen without a mental checklist of obstacles, to be the person your grandchildren still call when they want to go somewhere, because you are the one who can still go. If you found this helpful today, and I genuinely hope you did, hit like right now. Not because it makes a difference to me, but because when you hit like, this video gets shown to someone else who needs it. Someone's mother, someone's father, someone who is right now shuffling through their hallway and has no idea what is happening. You could be the reason they find this video. That is worth a tap. And before I let you go, I want to tell you one more thing. Sandra is 67 years old. She fractured her wrist in a fall from a rug that had been there for 11 years. She spent 4 months afraid to walk across her own living room. And now she is hiking. Do not let anyone tell you it is too late, because it is not. One more thing. Next week, I am going to show you something that surprises almost everyone who sees it. A study that followed over 4,000 adults over 65 for 3 years found that one specific nighttime habit, something almost everyone does, may be cutting your natural foot clearance by up to 22% the following morning. That is 4 times more dangerous than an uneven sidewalk. That video goes up next week. Subscribe now so you don't miss it. Type "I finished" in the comments if you made it to the end. And if there is someone in your life who is walking carefully these days, who is taking shorter steps and holding walls they didn't used to hold, please share this video with them today, not tomorrow. Today. It might be the most important thing you do for them this year. Take care of yourselves. I will see you in the next one.